Athletes around the world use many techniques to create speed, explosiveness, and power. Plyometrics, however, reign as the king in this category, with no other technique being more trusted or as heavily utilized in the creation of blistering speed, outlandish vertical jumps, or terrifying power. The definition of plyometrics is exercises that seek to produce the maximum amount of strength in the shortest intervals of time. In other words, these are exercises that teach and adapt the body to bridge the gap between speed and strength, with the result being power. Unlike traditional strength training, plyometrics do not simply make the muscles bigger and stronger. Instead, they work by creating three fascinating and powerful adaptations to the body. Number 1 is tendon strength. While muscles are great for creating voluntary movement, that is, when your brain thinks about moving, your muscles make it a reality, they are not very good at absorbing rapid or explosive movement from outside the body. For instance, when you run at top speed, it's your muscles that start the movement and get the acceleration going. But in the process, the feet, as they strike the ground, create very high forces that travel back up the leg. The muscles have a really high water content, and this force disrupts the movement of the muscles and can wreak havoc on the ability to propel the body forward with any speed. Imagine throwing a water-filled balloon across the ground that doesn't break. It becomes deformed and warps underneath the pressure, stopping its momentum quickly. Luckily, the body has tendons. The tendons are much more dense and specialized in absorbing force and rebounding that force back out like a loaded spring. Plyometrics greatly target the tendons and cause them to quickly grow thicker, stronger, and more explosive. The tendons not only stop the disruption, but actually help the muscles propel the body forward by adding spring to each step. Number 2 is muscle reaction time. The body has an intelligence all its own, separate from but intertwined with that of the brain. The body is full of sensory nerves busy collecting data from all around you all day long, and 99% of it you're not even aware of, but the body is. Imagine a time when you've been walking down the sidewalk and not paying attention and you trip over a raised crack in the concrete. Your leg shoots forward like a lunge before your brain even knows what's happening. The body sensed what was happening first and reacted faster than your brain is capable in order to stop you from face planting on the concrete. Plyometrics is one of the few ways to mentally bridge this gap and consciously train the body's ability to temporarily level up and increase reaction time when the moment calls for it. Number 3 is intensity of strength. Just as the brain can only command so much speed out of the body, it can also only activate a small percentage of the muscle fibers at any given point in time to produce strength. This is a built-in safety mechanism so that the muscles don't damage the joints. You see, humans are actually much stronger than you would think. We've all heard of the 110-pound mothers who push vehicles off their children after a wreck. How is this possible when in the gym, the same untrained woman might only deadlift 100 pounds? The answer is that in her state of extreme stress, her conscious mind turned off and her body mind completely took over, activating nearly all the muscle fibers in her body as opposed to the small fraction she is normally able to use. In fact, a human being who does not train often can only use between 10 and 15% of their muscle fibers voluntarily, while those involved in weight training and athletics can often utilize up to 25% of the muscles in the body. However, the most elite athletes in the world who heavily utilize explosive plyometric movements can sometimes activate up to 35% or more of the muscle fibers in their body consciously. During plyometric movements like a box jump, the muscles, after jumping off the box, must help absorb whatever force they can by quickly contracting upon impact. But then they must hold that contraction for dear life for just a moment in order that all the force might be transferred to the tendons so the tendons can rebound. In a sense, the muscles are learning to play the tendons' game by cooperating with them. As the body realizes this is happening, it slowly allows you more and more control over your muscle fibers because it's becoming safer for you to have that control. Plyometrics require the muscles and tendons to be loaded and then quickly contracted in order to get the desired effect. So the goal with all plyometric movements is to transition from absorbing momentum to redirecting it as quickly as possible. The most iconic plyometric exercises are box jumps, where someone stands on a box and jumps off, quickly absorbing the force of impact and redirecting it up with a rebound jump, either into the air or back onto the box if possible. These jumps are considered high intensity and have similar recovery demands as does heavy lifting, meaning that these types of exercises usually shouldn't be done more than twice a week. Light plyometrics operate off the same principle of quick ground rebounds but with smaller forces. A common example of this is jump rope, where hundreds of small but quick rebounds are done in a single workout, creating less overall power than the larger jumps by creating quick footwork and great explosive stamina. Boxers and MMA fighters are big fans of the jump rope for this very reason. While lower body plyometrics are the most heavily utilized in athletics, upper body plyometrics are still used by throwers, fighters, or anyone who needs an explosive upper body. Common upper body plyometrics include jumping push-ups, where the push-up is done explosively so that the upper body jumps off the ground before landing back down and attempting to absorb the landing force, then redirecting it into the next push-up. This would be considered a heavy upper body plyo, which is again only appropriate for most people once or twice a week. A lighter version of upper body plyometrics would be speed push-ups, where the body never jumps off the ground, but it is still performed in the same rapid and explosive manner. These push-ups are only done in a small range of motion, often only 3 to 5 inches of movement. In my 20s, I used these for boxing, and I can personally attest to their ability to create very explosive punches. Plyometrics, when done incorrectly or done before the body is prepared, have a high rate of injury, especially the heavier plyometrics such as box jumps and plyo push-ups. Be sure to have a well-developed base of strength and mobility in the movement patterns you intend to use before starting plyometrics. For instance, if you are going to do box jumps, be sure to develop some leg strength first, either with squats or with depth jumps, with depth jumps simply being a box jump without the rebound. You would also want to make sure that the hips are mobile through the use of hip openers and hip stretches like the resting squat, which you can learn about in this video here. Also, if you feel prone to injury or you've had joint injuries in the past, it may be a good idea to spend some time strengthening the tendons before doing explosive plyometric work. If you're interested in how this is done, check the description box below for a blog post explaining how. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep moving, my friends.